break his fast and fast at a later date, inshallah. It's actually advised. Now, what is the ransom? What is the expiation, ya Ustadh Zunaid? The expiation is half a sa', which is equivalent to approximately a kilo or a kilo and a half, some scholars have said. However, to put it in a understanding manner, it's to feed a poor person 1 meal for every day. Anas ibn Malik, when he got old, he could not fast, so he gathered 30 poor people over a banquet, over a large meal for the 30 days he missed in Ramadan. So he only fed them for that one time, and which expiated, was an atonement for the whole month of Ramadan for him. 1 meal that covered 30 poor people, and that was his expiation, and that sufficed his problem. Na'am ya Marwan. There are many poor people. You go to the people of knowledge or people of who collect charity or funds for the needy, and thus inshallah you will find them. Na'am ya Zunaid. Zakatul Fitr, very good question, must be paid in commodity. It cannot be paid in money. In other words, a problem has occurred in our time where many people pay it in money. They send money overseas, whether it's to Africa, the subcontinental, or to the Middle East or the Arab countries. They pay their Zakatul Fitr in money. This is not acceptable. It's got to be exchanged for food. You are not allowed to pay the Zakatul Fitr, which is 3 sa', approximately you can say around just over 3 kilos of anything that is common in that town, whether it's wheat, rice, sugar, dates, barley and so forth. That must be paid in commodity and not in money. Are you allowed to brush your teeth when you are fasting or use Listerine? Yes, you are, as long as you do not drink the water or the Listerine or the toothpaste when you're brushing or using these things. There's no problem with that. As Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam used to use the siwak, and the siwak is a stick that you can derive from it some kind of liquid that purifies the mouth. So that was used by him throughout the days of Ramadan, and he actually encouraged this. Likewise, the companions radiallahu anhum used to use the siwak, and thus they likewise encouraged it. So you are allowed to use the siwak. So an analogy can be formed on that, which is the toothpaste with the toothbrush. There is no difference. Just as you are allowed to rinse your mouth, you are allowed to rinse your mouth when you are warm, when you are hot, to cool yourself down, as you are allowed to submerge in water, put your head in water when you are likewise warm. You are allowed to use the toothpaste and the siwak. I am 7 months pregnant and I'm sick while pregnant on daily injections. Can I fast Ramadan? It actually becomes haram for you to fast. You are not allowed to fast under a circumstance. I do not advise any sisters, even though they think they're full of energy and they have the ability. I do not advise any sister to fast in Ramadan if she is pregnant or if she is breastfeeding. Allah has made it easy for you. Do not make it hard on yourself. Instead, break your fast and expiate a ransom, which is feeding a poor person for every day that you miss. Are you allowed to make up for the fast missed just before Ramadan? Yes, you are. Aisha radiallahu anha mentions that she used to make up the missed days in the month of Sha'ban. And it's an authentic narration on her behalf. On the month of Sha'ban, and that is the month before, that precedes the month of Ramadan. It comes between Ramadan and Rajab. So you are allowed to make it then. However, I do not advise you to do that, because you may accidentally go beyond that, which becomes a sin. If you have no valid reason to do so. But it is allowable if you are sure of yourself, and no one is sure of himself. Now, ya Ustadh Ziyad. Are you allowed to kiss? Are you allowed to embrace? Are you allowed to touch your wife in Ramadan? You are absolutely allowed. Now we can put that under 3 categories. 1, it becomes haram if you believe that kissing that embracing, that touching may lead, will indefinitely lead. In other words, you cannot control your desire, and if that leads to the prohibition, which is committing sexual intercourse with your wife, then it is haram to touch, to embrace or kiss. If you are in doubt that this kiss or that touch or that embracing will only may lead to that problem, then it becomes disliked. If you are sure of yourself, you have control over your ability, your sexual desire, and you are sure that you will not let this go further, then it is not a problem, it is mubah, acceptable for you to do so. And Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam would, as Aisha mentions, kiss his wives in Ramadan with no problem at all. Now,
what if you go to the extent you have to get to your wife in Ramadan?
If you fall on your wife, you have perished, you can say. If you perish, it's just about the same, subhanAllah. If you fall on your wife in the month of Ramadan, which is a deliberate fall, not a forgetful fall, a deliberate fall, then a forgetful fall. In other words, if you forget your fasting, just as you may forget fasting and you eat and drink, if you forget your fasting and you do have sexual intercourse in the month of Ramadan, then you have nothing on you. There is no expiation and there is no ransom, and you do not have to make up for that day. It's forgetfulness. It's just like eating and drinking on a day when you have forgotten. But if you fall on her while you have the will and the ability not to, you know that you should not, but you fall on her due to your sexual desire, you cannot control yourself, then you must expiate for what you have done. Number one, the first thing that you are asked to do, if you are able to do it, is to free a slave. If you are unable, which is very hard today, you go to number two. Number two is to fast 2 months consecutively, which is approximately 60 days. 2 months consecutively. It's a condition that it's consecutive. If you break one of the days, you've got to start again. Number three, if you are unable to do that, which many of us are unable, then you go to number three, which is feeding 60 poor people. Feeding 60 poor people. So be careful, sisters, be careful, brothers, that you do not, for 1 second entertainment, fall under that major catastrophe. Because there'll be 60 days when you are unable to do that same thing. That's in the day anyway. Any questions about Ramadan? تفضل يا عبد الغني غناك الله في الدنيا والآخرة.
So you said to do those three things, kiss, hug or whatever, embrace, whatever. You said it's mubah. Is it ibadah outside of Ramadan or is it never ibadah? Because sexual intercourse with your wife is ibadah. But those three
Good question. Is kissing, is embracing, is showing passion or romance towards your wife, in other words? And this is all romantic. If doing these things, is it halal? Is it rewarding? Yes, it is. A Muslim man will get reward if he shows affection towards his wife, care and love. By kissing your wife, you are strengthening her. You are making her or placing her in a state of security. So yes, you are, inshallah ta'ala, rewarded, especially if you intend it by doing such things in Ramadan. Are you allowed to wear long-lasting lipstick or lip gloss in Ramadan? If it's towards only your husband, it is allowed, or your maharim, it is allowed, because lipstick and lip gloss, I don't know what that is. Anyway, that is allowable if it's only to your maharim, even in the day of Ramadan, and there is no problem, as there is no problem wearing kuhl. And kuhl is that, what's it called? The kuhl that you put on the eyelid, the mascara is called? The eyeliner? Tikal afya. So, wearing that is not a problem, because that does not likewise break your wudu, but the lady is not allowed to wear it to other than her maharim. Fadal ya Ustadh Ziyadu.
When you mean kiss, that's like a normal kiss or is it like
Astaghfirullah al-Azim. There are 20, 15-year-olds here. You are allowed. You are allowed to kiss, and you are allowed to do what you know you are allowed. Now, It goes beyond that. In other words, you are allowed to do what you think.